Hello, I'm Meredith, and thank you so much for watching this video about the full moon in Libra that's coming up tomorrow. Yeah, interesting energy going on at the moment. I think that this Mars North Node conjunction that was exact yesterday is very interesting, is propelling us into some interesting new directions, and some of them might surprise us, I think. And that's kind of a theme of this year, is sort of surprise and change and resilience and adaptability and being able to change your course, right? Um, so in talking about this full moon, which, what is a full moon? I think we can look back at, like the last several years and kind of say like, okay, whenever the moon is full, I feel kind of crazy. And it's like, okay, well, why is that? I think that the moon being some kind of a portal for certain frequencies and certain principalities and high places or whatever, what have you. So that's kind of my take on the moon. And I don't recommend working with it, though I do recommend sort of like, just figuring out, a way. It's like a way to track your life, basically, and kind of like measure your own, accomplishment or achievement, or like whatever word you want to use, happiness, well-being. You can measure sort of these things based on the cycles of the moon. And a full moon tends to be a very heightened energy, high intensity, high emotionality kind of time. And it's a very odd, this full moon is interesting because so when there's a full moon, there's the sun and the moon, and they're opposing each other. So there's like this like kind of opposite tension kind of happening. And between usually one part of our lives and another, if we were to look at like where this impacts us individually. So if you have any planets in the early degrees of Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, I would say that you would feel this pretty strongly. So what is this full moon in Libra all about? Well, the polarity of Aries and Libra is the polarity of self and other people, and where you exist and where other people begin. So this is just what that polarity is about. But I think that the way that it impacts all of us individually is dependent upon our chart, our natal placements, those types of things. And I think that this full moon, it's going to be interesting. I mean, it's with Chiron. So the sun and Venus are in Aries right now. So the sun loves to be in Aries. The sun feels like it can direct itself, and it feels responsible for itself, and it feels comfortable and at ease stepping into leadership roles when it comes into the sign of Aries. And then Venus is like, I usually just want to receive and be valued and look at beautiful things and create. But in Aries, it kind of like takes on a very strong feminine role. And I don't think that Venus necessarily enjoys to be in the sign of Aries. It kind of feels like it's in jail in the sign of Aries, if we are just looking at like traditional, essential dignity in astrology. And I think that because Chiron is involved, this is going to illuminate where we feel lacking, where we feel wounded, where we feel like our humanity is really showing. So I want to take a second to kind of like have a rant about this, because I feel that there's this very strong like movement towards collectivism, which may not entirely be a bad thing if the individuals as part of this collective are healed and fully informed. And that is not the case whatsoever. Like, I've never met one person, and this includes people who say that they're fully healed. I do not trust that. in the hologram. I just don't, I think that if somebody had it all figured out, they wouldn't be here. That's just my opinion. Like they'd figure out how to unmanifest a body and, you know, so all that to say, I think that a ideal collective would be one that is based on reciprocity, value, and like individual, like an individualist collective. I could see myself operating as part of that, right? But in the collective that we're at now, show me one person who isn't extremely wounded. Show me one person who isn't working out some kind of trauma loop. Show me one person that has a perfected energy field. Show me one person who is completely and totally aware of their consciousness and their energy and the places where their soul is occupying 100% of the time. So you can show me that, then maybe I'll be like, okay, collectivism. But until then, I feel that there's like this frequency playing in the air that's like, shh, forget about yourself. Humanity is the virus. Like, go against yourself. Like it's all for others. We're doing this all for others. Just forget about yourself. You don't matter. Others matter. You don't matter. And, you know, I definitely think that that is quite a brilliant program that is going around, and it's really effective, I think, because people want to be seen as virtuous. I really think that it's about appearances more than anything. And, you know, so all that to say, we are going to be reminded on Sunday, on tomorrow, where we as individuals really could use healing and empowerment. And if you've been neglecting yourself, I think that this will provide a powerful and potent opportunity to come back to yourself and to love on yourself. Or, you know, say you're sort of in the opposite camp. If you have been completely ignoring other people or not taking part in any kind of, you know, relationship or community, or if you are like completely self-absorbed and self-centered, you might be pulled out of that a little bit. So I think that there's something for everybody under this full moon. So yeah, I think that this will be a powerful time to recognize, especially within the sometimes dark mirror that can be our relationships. We'll realize, like, where have I been giving like just so much energy to, you know, something or other? Where am I incomplete? Or where could I use healing, and where can I embolden and empower myself? That's what I think that this should bring up. So I'd like to walk us through the different zodiac signs, but maybe before I do that, I'll come up with the degree interpretation for, let's see, all right. Sorry. Okay, so it's at 8 degrees, and I'm just going to read the degree symbolism. Thanks so much for your patience with me as I pull this up. I should have done that before, perhaps, but you know, we're flying by the seat of our pants at this particular channel. Okay, so this is the 8th degree of Libra that I'm going to read for you guys. So this says, a cook fixing vegetable soup from a myriad of ingredients. If variety is spice, here we have the ultimate gourmet dish. Inner necessity dictates that you draw eclectically upon the broadest, most fantastic range of factors and facets you can possibly expose yourself to. By becoming conversant with myriad voices, you find the subtle edge between the universal self and your evolving center. As you spread yourself thin and keep extending to the far horizon, the synthesis or blend grows richer and finer all the while. It is only by blending what has previously been polarized that you begin to make your way. I'm going to repeat that. It is only by blending what has been previously polarized that you begin to make your way. To be here for the changes and the mix is everything. To define and limit is nothing. You simply have no taste whatsoever for the prepared, pre-digested worlds. It has to be dazzlingly inventive and spontaneously revelatory to have any currency in the realm where we are all seeking to bust loose and take what we find, throw it together, and discover that everything is part of the same thing. And this realization fans a pathway beyond the known altogether. I'm going to read also the degree symbolism of Aries, the 8th degree of Aries. This says a fat man in a state of reverie, smoking a hookah. Superior to the world, experienced and sophisticated, seeing in the future what you have seen in the past at the next point in the spiral. Bored and worldly wise, unchallenged by the pace and the wits of others, you are disdainful and haughty. Yet in the center of this lies as fresh a perception and way of being as the outward husk has grown decadent, bearing inside new worlds. So that's 2 references to new worlds. I just want to come back to that. I'm going to save that for later. Trumpeting outside your disengagement from old worlds. You walk an edge sharp and dangerous between your impatient dismissal of the past and all worlds linked with the past, and a hunger and yearning for a different world altogether that burns and aches and will not go away. Along that razor's edge lies destiny, half volatile and half triumphant. These 2 sides war and collide in a rivalry for who will decide the outcome. So that's pretty interesting. And those are our 2 degree symbols. And, you can feel free to like rewind if you enjoy that. And I'll put the link in the description below for how I found that. It's pretty amazing. This guy, Ellias Lonsdale, has a book called Inside Degrees, and it's pretty high truth for being in here, in my opinion. So yeah. So I just wanted to share that, and then I'll go through the signs, so that each rising sign can really figure out where this is hitting you and what to do about it. And if you would like to make plans and I would say that this is pretty nice too, because the sun and the moon will both be positively aspecting the south node and the north node. So the south node is still in Sagittarius, which means that the snare lies within us thinking we know everything, or that even that there is a group of people that know everything, right? So there's that. And also, just sort of like there's this air sometimes with Sagittarius that can be like kind of blindly optimistic. And I think that that's also something that could be a potential, ensnarement and something to avoid. And then the North Node is in Gemini, same place that it was in 2001. And I think that the North Node in Gemini really asks, well, first of all, that's responsible for the polarity. It asks us to bridge together the aspects of ourselves so that we can have access to the center of our being, the central column, the core of who we are as souls. So it's also about using your mind. And, I think that there's something very like looking outside of the box regarding Aries or not Aries, but Gemini, the sign of Gemini. And since Mars is right nearby and this conjunction will be ongoing, we'll feel it for the next week, but it'll be waning. So if there's anything that you want to act upon, if you have a sort of claircognizant experience of knowing something, then maybe this is a good time to sort of put, to act on whatever it is that you feel like acting on, and to move with whatever you feel like moving with. So yeah, I would say that this is positive because, the sun is going to be trining over to the south node, which sort of like, I think, gives ease in, in just seeing and recognizing like the spaces that we maybe are a little bit dogmatic or arrogant to think we know, and the the moon is going to trine the north node Mars conjunction, which I think will be really nice too, because kind of gets like our emotions in alignment and on the same page with our our where we're feeling like divinely led to act. Sorry, sometimes you're just talking on YouTube and you have a stroke. All right, so in looking at each of the rising signs. So I'll start with the sign of Libra. So because the sun, Venus, and Chiron, if you're a Libra rising, are in your 7th house, which are kind of, in a way, this is all about self-preservation. And with Chiron in your 7th house for Libra risings, I think Libra rising tends to be very selfless, very helpful, and very like other people oriented. And sometimes that can draw us out of ourselves. That can draw you sort of like to a place where maybe you're overextending for others and you don't even, recognize it until you feel really resentful. And so I would say for you as a Libra rising, please take care of yourself and just nurture yourself and water yourself. That's my, my advice. And if you're a Libra rising, then the North Node and Mars are going to be in your 9th house. So I know that travel is kind of weird, but if you want to go somewhere, go. If you want to do something, do it. If you want to move across the country, move across the country. Like this is kind of like, or if you're getting an idea that you want to learn something new, learn something new. I would say that the waste of energy is going to be in trying to argue with people on social media with Sagittarius South Node in your 3rd house. I would say that the waste of energy is to try to convince anybody of anything. Just go with your own knowing and foster and nurture yourself, connect to your higher self. That's what I would say for Libra rising. And then for Scorpio risings, this is going to be in your 12th house. So the full moon is going to be in your 12th house, which means that the sun, Venus, and Chiron are in your 6th house. And, like probably are reminding you of aspects where like maybe you've neglected your body, maybe you've neglected your own routine. And so I think that because this new moon is going to be, or full moon, sorry, is going to be in your 12th house, this is going to kind of like, I don't know, it's like a bridge between like the spiritual realm and the mundane, and where you can kind of like gain a balance between those things. And, sometimes we have to have a certain dream because the 12th house has to do with dreams, where we see something that we need to fix in our mundane lives. And I think that could be a potential or possibility. I would recommend for Scorpio risings to take a bunch of rest on this full moon in Libra for sure. A bunch of rest, a bunch of downtime, chilling. And yeah, so let's see. And if you're a Scorpio rising, then the North Node is in your 8th house. So y'all are going through just a deep transformation internally, possibly dying to the old self, as the 8th house does represent it's the death and rebirth house. And also you might be finding yourself in spaces with people, that are, I don't know, very deep, very intimate. And I would say that that's a space for you to lean into if you are a Scorpio rising, which would mean that the South Node is currently moving through your 2nd house. So, you might need to find a new way to make money, and maybe there's some kind of like dream that comes to you about that. You know, and maybe you decide that, you know, you can't keep doing what you're doing on the mundane daily life level as you used to. So I would say that that's for Scorpio risings, that's the T. And if you are a Sagittarius rising, then this full moon is going to be in your 11th house, and the sun, Venus, and Chiron are going to be in your 5th house. So you might decide that you don't want to, I think for Sag risings especially, like this is not the time to be going it all your own. You know, you have this full moon in your house of community. So where's your support? Where's your network? Who can you trust? Who can you talk to? I think that the North Node being in your 7th house is really letting you know like who's who for you, and how can you connect with those people that make you feel more whole and more seen and more heard. And can you listen to the ideas and thoughts of other people? It's kind of like the tricky aspect with Sagittarius rising. So if you are a Capricorn rising, this full moon is going to be in your 10th house, and the Sun, Venus, Chiron conjunction are going to be in your 4th house. So if you are having this full moon in the 10th house, this is like, okay, where are you going to plant some seeds for your career? What do you want to do? Do you want to keep doing the same thing, or do you want to start something else, like a new project or something else that brings you more fulfillment? And what are the steps that you need for that? And I think as well, there's an opportunity for a profound and potent emotional release with the Sun, Venus, and Chiron. It's like, where have I like been, you know, neglecting myself emotionally, and how is that informing how I show up in my career space? So because you have the North Node moving through your 6th house, this is all about like, you know, really not getting too caught up in the bigger picture. This is about, you know, making sure that you chop wood and carry water every day, and maybe don't get too lost in the future or the fields, you know, and just kind of try to bring yourself into your body, into your moment. You know, and what is this coffee that I'm drinking, you know, and what is this water, and like, what is this feeling underneath my feet when I go outside and I place my feet on the ground? What is this breath in? What is this breath out? That's a great place to put your energy with the North Node moving through your 6th house. And I think as well, because, you know, the 4th house and your 6th house are going to be talking to each other. It's like, you know, how can I, you know, bring more nurturing into my home space, into my daily life? Where can I continue to take care of myself? Am I breathing to the fullest that I possibly can? So if you are a Aquarius rising, then this is going to be in your 9th house. So you might decide that you want to take a day trip. You might decide that you want to, you know, go for a little travel. You might decide that you want to learn something new. And the Sun, Venus, and Chiron in your 3rd house could be sort of like, okay, where am I not expressing myself? Where do I not feel comfortable enough to express myself? How can I make sure that the people in my life are, yeah, just worthy of hearing what I have to say? And if there's any, you know, sort of painful revelations that come about in your mind, how can you process them? And, oh, excuse me. And I would say that because you have the North Node moving through your 5th house, this is all about like using creativity as the perfect outlet and the perfect tool. And with the South Node in your 11th house, I would say that the ensnarement is thinking that you have to be there for everyone 100% of the time, because I don't think that's necessarily true right now for Aquarius rising. Though Aquarius rising does place other people on a very equal pedestal in terms of like, you know, is more likely to give itself away, I think, for the collective than maybe somebody with a Leo rising. So If you are a Pisces rising, then this Libra new moon could be in your 8th house. Yeah, 8th house. Sorry, I'm just doing this in my head and it's math. And so if you are a Pisces rising, then this, well, that's not true, is it? Yeah, it is. Okay, so this full moon in Libra is in your 8th house. And, you know, this could bring up a lot of deep emotions and, you know, a sense of, you know, I hate to put this out there for people, but you could see where your self-worth could use a little bit of work. You can see, you know, if you've been giving a lot more attention to others, you could see like, okay, maybe I need to come back to myself, and maybe, you know, I don't have as much time, energy, and resources as I'm accustomed to having to give to others. And you might have to just sort of come back to yourself and, you know, just reaffirm and affirm your worthiness of being. And so with the North Node being in your, for a Pisces rising, would be in your 4th house. Yeah. So it's all emotional really for Pisces rising folks right now. You know, you might be planning on moving if you're a Pisces rising, or you might be digging into your ancestry trying to figure out, like, you know, how these cycles that get passed through the family line, you might figure out like, oh, well, this is what I really need to heal, you know. And so with that energy, you know, you have the South Node in your 10th house, which, you know, can kind of like take some steam out of your career. Like you're not really wanting to focus on that as much as you are wanting to focus inwardly. And with an Aries rising, this is going to be happening in your 7th house of other people. And, you know, in your 1st house, you'll have Chiron, Venus, and the sun. So I think that, you know, it's all about the balance between self and others. And am I expressing properly with the North Node in your 3rd house? And am I, you know, sort of being dogmatic or arrogant or wanting to focus on the whole macro rather than just my micro? I would say that this is a good time for Aries and Aries rising to focus on their micro. So if you are a Taurus rising, then this is going to be happening in your 6th house, which means that the sun, Venus, and Chiron are going to be in your 12th house. So where have you been neglecting your spirituality? Where have you been neglecting your connection to the all? Where have you been neglecting your dream work? These are things that could come up. And, you know, sometimes when we neglect ourselves spiritually, it shows up physically. So that could be the case if you are a Taurus rising with this Libra full moon in your 6th house. And you have the North Node as a Taurus rising in your 2nd house. So make that money, honey, and remember that you are worth it. And, you know, you might want to watch like where you're giving yourself and your time and your energy and your resources away to others, and where you are maybe merging inappropriately with others, and, you know, maybe getting into, you know, some codependent patterns of behavior, and how does that influence and affect your physical body. So if you are a Gemini rising, then this is going to be in your 5th house. So have as much fucking fun as you possibly can is my advice. I would say that, you know, maybe some Gemini risings aren't really feeling too hot in their community. They don't really feel seen. They don't really feel heard. They don't feel like their individual uniqueness is being acknowledged or appreciated. And I would say that that's real. And if you are a Gemini rising, then right now the North Node is in your 1st house, which means that you are your first priority. And this is largely about you right now. And if you have a Gemini rising, then you have the South Node in Sagittarius in your 7th house, which is just, yeah, like good time not to lose yourself in someone else. Good time to, you know, kind of be mindful of the time that you're spending with others versus the time that you're spending with yourself, so that you can really gain access to yeah, just your own healing and the opportunities that are actively trying to make their way towards you just for you. If you've got your nose so deep in someone else's butt, then you're probably not going to realize when there is something that's right there for you to claim and to grab onto. So yeah, So let's see what's next. Cancer rising. Yeah. Okay. So if you are a Cancer rising, then this full moon is going to be in your fourth house. Yeah. So if you are a Cancer rising, then this new full moon is going to be in your fourth house, which means that emotional release is possible, putting some kind of piece together on what you're feeling, and maybe you put a piece together about the past. Who knows? This, you could begin to gestate something, some kind of idea, some kind of creative potential, something along those lines, right? And with the Sun, Chiron, and North Node, or Sun, Chiron, and Venus conjunction is going to be in your 10th house, which means that for you, this is largely about I don't know, like letting go of the reputation that, reputation is something that is completely like, I don't know, I don't think it's that important. Like, of course, I'm saying that because I'm like, I give no fucks these days, but I feel as though, there's this sense of like needing to uphold something, but not feeling quite good enough to uphold it. And that's where I think be a human being first before you are a, business person or a public figure or a fucking influencer. Be a human first, I think, is like the message with that. It's okay for you to have bad days. It's okay for every day not to be a perfect work day, whatever that means, if that's even a thing. We have to give ourselves grace, I think, more grace than we are normally giving ourselves. And with the North Node being in your 12th house, this is encouraging you to draw away from the world. This is encouraging you to go rent a cabin in the woods and just kind of like chill there as long as you can. Go camping, and also I would recommend turning off your phone for extended periods of time. If you are a Cancer rising who's going through this North Node transit in your 12th house, you might feel like isolating a little bit and kind of drawing away from the external world, especially with the South Node in Sagittarius. Forget about the lists, forget about the routines, and do something that allows you to draw away from the concrete jungle or wherever you are. So if you are a Leo rising, then this this is going to be influencing your third house. And, I think that Leos with Aries in the 9th house, this is where the Sun, Venus, and Chiron are going to be. It's very indignant, can be very, opinionated. And I would say that it's a good day for Leo risings to embrace humility and to listen to other people and to exchange with other people and their experiences, because you have the North Node moving through your 11th house of community. You have the South Node moving through the 5th house of my own joy, my own pleasure. So may as well do something to be of service to others. That energy is really lighting up for you if you're a Leo rising. So if you are a Virgo rising, which is the last one, I think, so cool. Then this full moon in Libra is going to be in your 2nd house. So make that money, honey, and prioritize your own time, energy, and resources. And I would say as well with Aries, Venus, Sun, Chiron conjunction in your 8th house, this is sort of like, it's like that wound that it's hard to scratch. It's hard to get at. It could be epigenetic. It could be soulful. Whatever it is, I think that there's a lot of potential for you to go deep within yourself, to find whatever that itch that's hard to scratch is. And I would say also with the North Node, if you're a Virgo rising being in your 10th house, this, whatever this deep transformation and kind of walling off the world to focus on your own time, your own energy, your own resources, which is not something that comes easily for a Virgo rising. I would say that this is a really good time to be able to go inside and to go, to go within yourself, because then that could bring up, like, you know, some kind of worthwhile revelation to share with the world, and to maybe also come into some opportunities based on the space that's created when you have a really big internal moment where you release something. And yeah. Mm-hmm. And if you are a Virgo rising, then the South Node is in your fourth house. So you're kind of like push to get out there a little bit more, push to put yourself out there a little bit more, push to sort of like be in your little shell a little bit less. Mm-hmm. And yeah. So I hope that this was helpful for you. Let me know your rising sign and your experience. And if you want a video of your transits sent to you each month, you can join my Patreon. I'll link it below. I also just started offering energy work, which I've been so enjoying. It's lighting me all the way up, and I've been really loving it. We start out with a grounding and protection meditation, and just really centering you and getting you clean before you even start this session. And then I do an agreement breaking practice, and I clear out foreign energy, entities, etheric technology, whatever it is. And then we end with me doing some vocal toning. Woo! And yeah, so if that's of interest to you, I have a special price point going on for April. Yeah, have a good one. Enjoy your full moon. Bye.